I request Gurudas ji to say a few things before we move forward. And Atul and Praveen, you are ready with, sorry, Ashish and Praveen, you are ready with your action list, I guess. So I'll just come to you in a minute.
I have a mic, thank you. It's 5:30 and everybody in this room is completely fatigued with the word carbon and emissions, I'm sure. So, it's more like tea and samosas at this time and not emission. But I'll try to be very short and quick, and especially because my throat is not in the best shape today. I come from Ecological Society Pune, and I was invited by PIC, Pune International Center, which is a think tank based in Pune, to do a rapid assessment of the potential to decarbonize Pune metropolitan region. Yeah. And after I give you what Pune metropolitan region is, it will make IIT Kanpur decarbonizing look like a cakewalk. Because the Pune metropolitan region is the second largest metropolitan region in the country. It's spread over 7,000 square kilometers. It has got 2 municipal corporations, Pimpri Chinchwad and Pune municipal corporations, 3 cantonments, Dehu Road, Khadki and Pune cantonment, yeah. And over 800 villages, and I think something like 8 municipal councils. So it's a completely nightmare when we thought of that. And why did we get into this in the first place? Okay, so out of sheer curiosity, we wrote a policy paper in 2019 and made a very reckless presentation to the then Minister of Environment, who was Aditya Thackeray. And because he's such a young chap and he's full of hopes, he said, okay, this looks like a viable project, why don't you carry it on? And we caught up with that and said, okay, yeah, we'll take up the challenge and let's do it. So we put our thoughts down, paper to pen to paper, and then we found out that it's a huge task. So cutting the long story short, I don't want to tell you what exactly we did. The methodology we followed is absolutely what Deepika and everybody else was talking about. We did all of that. But I just want to give you about 6 or 7 points which I just jotted down, which are more like lessons learned in the process. And that might be more useful because we are at the end of the day and we are looking at action. So how do you operationalize things which you have in your mind or which you have as a concept is something which you look at. So the way we went about this is the first phase, we spent about 12 months looking at the status of emissions in Pune metropolitan region. Right. And so we completed that project very recently in March of 2022. We presented it publicly, we had an open roundtable discussion, we had various peer reviews and so on and so forth. And the second phase we are now starting right away. As I go back after Diwali, we started, where we are going to have actual pilot projects in the 6 themes which Deepika just said. So in waste, in energy efficiency, in recharge, renewable energy recharge stations, in logistics, and the others. So we are actually going to run pilot projects in each of this. That's the second phase. But that is yet to start. In the first phase, the first lesson which we learned is, don't spend too much time gathering data from everywhere, which has to be very accurate, which has to be very reliable, which has to be validated by everybody. It's impossible, you know. There is MSCDCL, there is PMPML, there is MPCB, there is PMC, there is PCMC. I'm not revealing the full form because then it will take another 10 minutes. So there are at least 20 different government administrative agencies from where we need to gather data. And it was hopeless looking at them. You know, we spent a lot of time and efforts going to the local transport authority to get data and stuff like that. But we did figure out ways on how we could get aggregated data. So one of the ways we looked at scope 1 data is, after running around with HPCL, BPCL and all of them, we found out that the Petrol Diesel Dealers Association in Pune had much better data than these companies themselves. And so we got hold of that data, and we kind of triangulated the data. And we saw that all the 3 places where we got the data is very much matched. And that was a happy note for us. Now the only thing which happens is, PMR, Pune Metropolitan Region, is 7,000 square kilometers. But the largest chunk of population lives in Pune Municipal Corporation and Pimpri Chinchwad Municipal Corporation. So we had to make some assumptions. So we assume that 90% of the consumption is happening in PMC and PCMC, and 10% will be extrapolated over the rest of the PMR, because most of the 7,000 square kilometers is sparsely inhabited with villages and council. And then we did a scenario analysis. So what we realize is we don't need to have absolutely accurate data to the last dot, but we can do scenario analysis. And this was the time pre-Spruher time. So Spruher was yet to be born that time. We had to do it with the old Google Excel sheet and Microsoft Excel and Google Docs sheet. A tough time and many iterations. We managed to get a lot of scenario analysis. Then we realized that we have to get the trend lines rather than absolute numbers. Trend lines are far more important because they tell you which is going to go through the roof and which is not. And then the next point, so first is about data and time being the essence, so we did not wait for that. Scenario analysis and trend lines were more important than absolute values. The third is the lesson which we learned is we have to involve each and every stakeholder in that. So first we went to the Digital Commissioner's Office, Poonam Mehta and Saurabh Rao, and then we went to Pune Municipal Corporation, Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Corporation, Pune Pimpri Transport Corporation, MSCDCL, Merck, MEDA, all of them, we brought them together, we got them in a room, told them what the project is and looked at their contributions, how they are going to contribute. So we included them in the entire mission. And that helped a lot because that opened a few doors and helped us get some more data. But more importantly, the data that we got, we also saw it from the perspective of those stakeholders. We were not just a simple small team of 8 people sitting and working on the decarbonizing Pune, but we were passing this data to the other stakeholders. MSCDCL data we passed on to PMPL or vice versa, and we got their perspectives of what's wrong, what's right, what's overshooting, stuff like that. So that was very important. And we did that more often. We did those round table conferences, which were really a round table and a small room. Yeah, once we got the baseline data, we got everything, we first looked at what are the low-hanging fruits. How can we convince people the fastest? Which are the ones which we can do right away with meager funding, with public participation, and what can show results? So at that stage we said, okay, let's pick up issues in transmission and distribution losses, in the efficiency improvement, switching over to BLDC fans in the new buildings, all of that kind of thing. We got together and sat down and brainstormed that. The other thing we realized is this 7,000 square kilometers has got ample natural resource for generation of energy. You know, there are a large patches. Mawad and Mulchi Taluka in Pune metropolitan region is a hub of paddy cultivation, and there's a lot of paddy paddy waste which is available for energy conversion. A lot of it goes as fodder, some of it is kept, but a lot of it can be brought and converted into fodder. So that was a very positive thing. The most important thing we realize is we have to have a very holistic approach. We cannot look at energy without looking at water. We cannot look at water without looking at food. We cannot look at petrol consumption without looking at logistics. So we mapped out, we did a GIS analysis of all the logistics hubs. So Chakan, Ranjangaon, MIDC Bosri, which are the consumption areas, which are the areas of warehouses, how is the travel going to happen? Again, we got a brilliant idea from the team on how to collect data from, you know, Pune metropolitan region is an open system. IIT Kanpur is fairly close to that extent. So we have people coming in from Mumbai to Bangalore to Hyderabad and to Delhi. Everybody is moving in. So we got data from toll booths. You know, what is the average number of vehicles coming in through the season? And again, we did a scenario analysis. We didn't have absolute numbers. We knew some data was not reliable, but we did these scenario analysis which told us that and got pretty good trend lines in that. So, yeah, so the holistic approach which I was telling you. So we had to look at each one, how they are interconnected, and then look at that. And the most important learning for me, I think, was that we had to evaluate every pathway ourselves. We could not rely on foreign agencies who have done on refuse derived fuel, on methane, methanation, on bio CNG. Maybe it worked in Europe, maybe it worked in Punjab, but will it work in Pune metropolitan region? Contextualizing. Will it work in the social setting? And for that, our collaboration with all these agencies helped a lot. So for example, Pune Municipal Corporation Environmental Officer, we used to go and sit with him, do you think this kind of technology will work? And then he would give us 2-3 things. No, then we realized this won't work here. Although it does work probably as near as Indore or as near as Mumbai, it might not here. So we did that evaluation of the technologies ourselves. That is very important. And then we got it peer reviewed all the time, and then we finally published the report on that. A major intervention was PMRDA, because Aditya Thackeray was involved. PMRDA, he told PMRDA that you will have to get the ecological report done through them, and that was, I thought, a very huge opportunity. I was actually sitting in PMRDA for a couple of months and reviewing their entire carbon sequestration potential. So there is almost about, we have the Sahyadri crest line on one side, which is the western border of PMRDA, and we have got 22 rivers in the upper Bhima basin which are going through that. So there I saw a huge potential to map first the first order and second order streams, and then the rivers, and then the riparian zones. How do you leave out zones for the agroeconomic thing, so on and so forth. So there were many interventions which we suggested to PMRDA to improve the carbon sequestration potential in the coming 4 to 5 years. Yeah, so that's about it. I think I'll take a couple of questions.
Thank you. Can I have?
Thank you so much.
How many pilots have you created in Pune as of now?
We have created 5 pilots and 1 program, which is not a pilot, but it's more like a sort of behavioral change.
So are these pilots 4 different types of pilots?
Yeah, in 4. 1 in waste, 1 in electric vehicle, renewable energy charging stations, the other one in transport, the other one in water, and things like that. Yeah, in different ways.
Is it Pune Smart City Mission doing all these things that you are doing?
Yeah, but that's for PMC, Pune Smart City Mission. Yeah, it's essentially for PMC, and
For the entire region.
yeah, yeah. So they're bringing a lot of technology and learnings from outside to there.
Yeah.
But this is more like grassroots. Whatever has gone wrong in all these years after the phenomenal growth of Pune's population after the IT explosion, we're trying to fix many things which probably will make things easier for the Smart City Mission also.
Any other question? Or too late in the evening?
Yeah, one of the learnings came from Infosys actually, where we went to Infosys, and one of the things which we took from there is the gas insulated substations. You know, it's very important. But at every stage, when you generate electricity at 2 lakh volts and you step it down to 220 volts, at every transformer there's going to be a loss. So if you want to reduce that losses, then you have a gas insulated substation, and then you start tapping from there. So one of the recommendations we are making to MITC as well as PMRDA, it's already made with a footnote thanking Infosys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.